Well, hello there and welcome to Grounded Kids Assembly, and welcome to week 2 of our Healthy Habits Challenge. Today we're going to be learning more about how to make healthy habits stick. But before we do that, let's begin with our opening brought to us by members of Mrs. Richard's 6th grade class. Today in our opening, we're going to add a new element where every week we're going to add this new thing to our opening. It is our school's mission statement. This is a simple sentence that tells us the things that we as Loma Linda Academy want to be doing at our school each and every day. So each week, when we have Grounded Kids Assembly, we'll have a student that will memorize and recite our school's mission statement. So listen carefully, try to memorize it, and when it's your class's turn, you can volunteer to say our school mission statement.
Put your right hand on your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I am a peace builder. I pledge to praise people, to give up put-downs, to seek wise people, to notice and speak up about hurts I have caused, to right wrongs, and to help others. I will build peace at home, at school, and in my community each day.
It is the mission of Loma Linda Academy for all to grow in God's grace, thrive intellectually, develop true friendships, and embrace healthful living.
Please close your eyes and bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today, and thank you so much for everything that you do for everyone. And thank you that the school is open, and thank you so much that we can be together even on Zoom and see each other. Please help everyone who's sick to get better and COVID to end, and for everyone to continue being safe with masks and social distancing. Thank you, Lord, so much for blessing us and giving everyone health, and in Jesus' name, amen.
Sing of happy school days where we learn to stand for truth, rightly training character in the early days of youth. Loma Linda Academy, we have pledged our honor true. We apply our colors loyally and will long remember you. Heart and hand united as we study day by day, where knowledge forms character in dear way. Let us strive for victory. There is much that we can do. We will pledge our loyalty as we stray forth for its truth. Loma Linda Academy, we have pledged our honor true. We will fly our colors loyally and will long remember you. Heart and hand united as we study day by day, where knowledge grows character and dear life.
Thank you, Mrs. Richards' class. Now is the time that we get to celebrate some of you for applying our school core values faithfully each week. The first one comes from Mrs. Sanchez's class. This student was caught doing the right thing in PE class when he saw that another classmate was struggling to put on the protective gloves that they were using. The student patiently and softly showed the other student how to figure it out and was so encouraging. Coach Bonnie was so proud of this student, and the other student was very grateful. Kindness sure goes a long way, so thank you for showing emotional intelligence, Kyle Kim. Another student from Mrs. Sanchez's class for showing emotional intelligence and integrity. This student stands up for her peers when things are not fair. Vivian Simangunsong from Mrs. Jimenez's class. For showing emotional intelligence, she showed care for her sad classmate. She is friendly to everyone. Eliana Richardson from Mrs. Clixto's class. A remote learner who used emotional intelligence. Her kind heart was quick to give words of praise to another student. Natalie Strotter from Mrs. Shelton's class. For showing integrity, this person found another student's school jacket and returned it. Jeremiah Listra from Mrs. Solis' class. For showing grit, this student never gives up on math. Caleb Tang from Mrs. Goen's class for showing respect and integrity by returning a lost book to the office. Kaylee Berger from Mrs. Pope's class for showing integrity, finding a sweater in the playground and returning it to the student. Sydney Bello. Thank you all for applying our school core values. Now let's recite them together. First, emotional intelligence, the power to see, understand, and impact feelings. Next, respect, the power to treat yourself and others like God's children. Third, integrity, the power to do the right thing at all times. And finally, grit, the power to never give up on your goals even when it's tough. Today we're going to be continuing our series as we explore grit and how to create healthy habits that will help us to achieve our goals. So LLA students and staff and parents, we're already done with our first week of our Healthy Habit Challenge. As I've been on the playgrounds during lunchtime or recess time this week, I've been asking some of you what your healthy habit is. There are some students who are doing push-ups and pull-ups like me. Other students are doing biking each day. Other students are choosing to read more from a book for fun or from an AR book each day. Other students are reading a Bible story every day from the Children's Bible. I even had a student who said that they're trying to be kind to others or to be helpful around the house each day. Some of you were still deciding what your healthy habit was going to be. I hope by today you've already decided which healthy habit you want to apply to your life during the month of January and hopefully throughout the rest of the year. I decided to try a new challenge for myself as well, in addition to my other healthy habits. And that is to have 5 minutes of having a listening prayer with Jesus every night before I go to sleep. Just asking him to let me know if there's anything that I need to do that day or something that I can do to serve others. And so far, if you look at my chart, I've been able to do it every single day since last Friday. I'm on my way to developing a new healthy habit for this year. And I hope you are too. If you missed week 1 because you didn't even choose a healthy habit yet, don't worry about it. It's never too late to start a healthy habit. As Romans 12 verse 2 says, God is in the business of transforming us by the renewing of our minds. And he does that by retraining our brains in those pathways that we talked about last week so that we can develop new healthy habits for our lives. So last week we talked about picking or choosing a healthy habit. This week we're going to be talking about how to make that healthy habit stick. It's kind of like when you stick something on the wall, like a piece of paper. You can push on it as hard as you want and just try to push it against the wall, but as soon as you let your hands go, it's not going to stick anymore, right? You need some type of glue or some type of fastener, maybe a staple, maybe a push pin, maybe a piece of tape, something that will help that piece of paper to stick to the wall. In the same way for our habits, we need to find some types of glues or fasteners that will help those habits stick in our brains so they don't just fall off after a few days. Today, we're going to be exploring more about those different types of habit glue that will help our habits to stick in our brains. And we'll be exploring 4 of them. But first, we're going to have a special interview with one of my really good friends. He's a medical student at Loma Linda University Medical Center. He's also a scientist who's doing research in a laboratory with lab rats. He's also the person who introduced me to the concept of mini habits by introducing me to the book called Mini Habits by Stephen Geis. So, I'd like to welcome to our Loma Linda Academy Grounded Kids Assembly, my friend, Mr. Miguel Serrano. All right, well, welcome to Loma Linda Academy's Grounded Kids Assembly, Miguel. Can you tell us who you are, what you're doing in life right now, what are you studying, what are you working as?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Miguel Serrano, like serrano pepper, which is what you would put in your guacamole. And I am currently a student at Loma Linda University. I was a PhD student and then I transitioned over to medical school.
Now, what about being a scientist? I know that you study, you research things. How's that like?
That's always fascinating to me. I love learning. I think that's my favorite thing to do, just to learn things. And I think doing research is basically you're trying to find things or observe things that no one has observed before. And that is really exciting. It's just really cool to be able to show the world, hey, we didn't know this before today, but now we do. And so the type of research I do is on rats. We study the nerves of rats and how they can regenerate based on the diet they consume. So that was one of the main projects I had.
So you're the one that introduced us to Mini Habits. You're the one that got me into the book and I read it and I loved it. So thank you for that. Now, as being a researcher, being a medical student, how are habits important to your life?
Oh, habits saved my life. I am naturally very disorganized. not very fit to be a student, especially a graduate student, because I'm kind of scatterbrained sometimes, and especially when it comes to organization, I struggle a lot. And once I discovered mini habits, I felt like my life just kind of started to fall into place, and things were going the way they were supposed to go. My grades went up, and my life just got better as a result of it.
So, when you're starting new habits, what are some things that have been helpful for you?
Well, first, I think it'd be good to define what habits are, right? And they are basically neuronal pathways in your brain that get thicker as the more you use them, or that just kind of go away if we stop using them. So they're all in your brain, and eventually they get saved in your hard drive, and to the point that you do them automatically. They become part of an area of your brain called the basal ganglia, which is related to emotions, but also related to automatic behaviors. So that's what habits are, right? And how do we form them? Typically, we use two things. We'll either use motivation or we'll use willpower, one or the other, right? And sometimes both of them. But for example, right now it's a new year. A lot of people are very motivated to start new habits, and I'm sure some of your students are there right now, or maybe their parents or their siblings, and that's really great. The problem with motivation is that as we get away from January and the beginning of the new year, it loses its sense of importance. I say, well, it's no longer the new year. Like I don't need to be a new me now, and motivation goes down in time. But willpower goes the exact opposite way. The more you use it, the stronger your willpower gets. And unlike motivation, which relies on your emotions, on how you're feeling that day, willpower relies on your ability to say, yes, I will do this. The more you use it, the more your habits will develop. The thing about willpower is that you only have a little bit, and if you use it all, try not to eat a chocolate cookie, for example, then you have no willpower to exercise. So that's the importance of using your willpower wisely, so that at some point you're no longer using your willpower, you're just relying on your habits. Do you know how many of our actions are habitual in our day?
No, how many?
Oh, there's a study out of Duke University that says about 45% of our behaviors on a daily basis are habits.
Wow.
45. So
what are some other mini habits that you have been able to start?
Yeah, I've always loved to read, and I feel like it enriches my life, and not just for school, but also for things like other books, like mini habits. And one of the mini habits I've started is, before I touch my phone in the morning, I have to read one page of one book, any book, and then I can reward myself if I want. I can look at Facebook, I can look at my Instagram, but first I have to do this mini habit. It's like one page, and that's very easy. And usually when I start, I don't want to stop.
That's awesome. So the mini habit works for more than just one page.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes I'm really in a rush, and I'll read one page and I'll be done for the day, and I'll feel accomplished. I'll feel like, I kept my mini habit, and I'm happy about that.
That's awesome. Any other mini habits that you want to share about?
I run 5 minutes a day. And sometimes when it's too cold outside, I'll just run in place for 5 minutes, and it's like, I'm done with my run for the day.
But it seems kind of funny when we think about such a habit that's so small. But when you think about it, you're doing a lot of great habits, even though it's just a few minutes, but you're doing them regularly every day, which is, I'm sure, adds up over time. What are some challenges that you faced when you've been trying to start new habits? And how have you been able to move past those challenges?
I think some of the common challenges are not knowing how to make it so small that it will feel effortless when I try to do it. Sometimes I just lack the motivation, and that's hard. But then I try to remind myself, you need two things to establish a habit: motivation and willpower. Sometimes I don't have one, and I'll just try to remind myself. The other thing that works great when I'm faltering in my habits, when I'm having a hard time keeping up with my habits, is having someone to do them with. It just makes it so much more fun. So having a friend or a couple of friends to start your habits with just makes things so much better and easier to stick with the habits.
Okay, so a really practical question. What if you have a mini habit, but you really don't feel like doing it? What would you recommend for a student in that situation?
That is a really good question, because again, we require motivation and willpower to follow through with our habits, right? Well, in those cases, I try to push my motivation up by rewarding myself at the end of the habit. I'm not allowed to touch my phone until I read at least one page of a book. And looking at my Instagram is fun. So I'll think, okay, I'll be able to check my Instagram after I read this one page. And that's been really helpful too. Rewarding yourself is part of the formation of a habit. You have your cue, you have your habit, and then you have your reward, and that's how you make that neural pathway stronger. Just looking forward to it helps you want to do it, and so you're using both motivation and willpower to accomplish your goals.
So one more question. What advice would you have for Loma Linda Academy students in the elementary school who are starting new habits this month?
Oh, what advice? I don't feel like I'm overly qualified to give advice to such a bright crowd. But maybe I would advise to start very small and to start with a friend. Maybe you can do it like at school even. If you get to school early and you want to read a page of a book, you can read it together, or you can do push-ups together before or during recess, or I don't know, things like that. I think that would be fun.
Well, thanks, Miguel. I appreciate your time. Have a great rest of the week. Thanks so much, Mr. Miguel, for teaching us about what we can do to make our habits stick, and also for sharing with us some of your healthy habits that you've started and how you've made them stick. With that, I'd like to share with you the 4 habit glues that have been researched by scientists to help our habits stick into our brains. These 4 habit glues come from the book called Good Habits, Bad Habits by author Wendy Wood. And I've readapted them to make them a little easier for us to remember. The 4 habit glues are reward, easy, practice, and signal. It's easy to remember because the 4 letters are an acronym, which means that the 4 first letters of those words actually spell out a word, and that word is reps. Reps is short for repetitions. It's what people who exercise use to talk about how many times they're going to do an activity. You might say, I want to do 1 rep of a push-up every day, or I want to do 6 reps of pull-ups today. Habits take a lot of repetition or repeating to actually form a habit in our brain, as we talked about last week. And so reps is a really good word that will help us remember the 4 habit glues. We're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. So we'll start with the S, which stands for signal. Mr. Miguel talked about how habits are formed in our brain by having a cue, an action or a response, and then a reward. Well, cue is a word that you might not really be familiar with, but it's another way of saying a signal or a reminder to do that habit. There are many cues or many signals that we have in our ordinary life. When you see this visual signal, what type of action do you have to do? You stop, right? When you hear this auditory or listening signal, what do you have to do? Maybe it means that you leave your classroom and go to recess, or you're on the playground and you come line up really quickly. When you smell this olfactory or smell cue, wait a minute, you can't smell from your classroom. It's popcorn, one of my favorite snacks. When I smell that cue, I know I have to eat it. In order to make a habit stick, it's important to tie it together or connect it with a signal that will help you to remember to do it each day. Mr. Miguel said that when he reads his page of his book every single morning, it's right in the beginning of the day when he first wakes up. That's a time signal. Every day when he wakes up, he knows he has to do his mini habit. That's a time signal. There are also visual signals. For example, most of you may have started a habit early on in life where you pray to thank God for your food before you eat it. At every meal, when you see your food, that is a signal to you that you are going to pray to Jesus to thank Him for your food. You do it automatically without even thinking because it's a habit that you started that's tied with that signal or that cue. So if you want to make a new habit stick, one habit glue is to connect your habit with a signal. You can pick a time signal. Like if you want to do 5 jumping jacks every single day, you could decide to have the time signal of the first thing that you do in the morning. Get out of bed, do 10 jumping jacks. If your habit is to say something nice to a friend each day, you might choose to do it the first thing when you get out to recess on the playground. Or if you don't want to choose a time signal, you can use a visual signal. So if your healthy habit is to be more thankful, you could decide that every time you sit down to eat a meal, when you see your food, you're going to thank Jesus for 2 things that you're thankful for. If your mini habit is that you want to pray more and talk to Jesus more, you can write down the word pray on a post-it note, stick it up on your bathroom mirror, and every time that you go to the mirror, you'll remember to say a quick prayer to talk to Jesus. Another type of signal is called a touch signal or a feeling signal. Those are things that you can feel with your skin and with your hands. So my dad used to put maybe 3 pennies in his right pocket. And then, whatever habit he wanted to start, every time he'd put his hand inside his pocket, he would feel the pennies and remember, I need to do my habit. When he did that habit, he would take 1 penny out of his right pocket, put it over into his left pocket. And then later in the day when he stuck his hand in his pocket, oh, I still have 2 more pennies. So he'd do his habit 1 more time, and then later in the day another time. And finally he knew that he'd done his habit 3 times because he'd moved those 3 pennies from the right pocket to the left pocket. Or some people put a hair tie, a rubber band, or a bracelet on their wrist or around their finger, and they feel tempted to touch it and stretch it throughout the day. Every time they touch it or stretch it, they remember to do their mini habit. Connecting your habit with a signal is a great habit glue to make your habit stick. Now, pair share for just a minute or brainstorm together as a class about some way that you could tie your healthy habit together with a visual signal, a time signal, or even a touch or feeling signal. As we're moving from the bottom to the top of our REPS acronym, the second one is P. It stands for practice. I don't really have to give much explanation about this because we all know that habits take practice. You have to do them over and over and over again so that your brain develops those pathways to help you to do that action automatically without even thinking about it. One way to make sure that you're practicing and continuing to do it every single day is to have a chart that you check off every single day to let yourself know that you completed your habit for that day. And that's why we have our Healthy Habit Challenge chart. Hopefully all of you have that printed out either at your home or at school, and you're checking that off every single day. It's a way to make sure that you're practicing to make sure that habit becomes automatic. Some habits take a month to develop. Some habits are harder and might take 2 or even 3 months to develop. So even after this Healthy Habit Challenge is over in January, I encourage you to continue checking off every single day that you're doing your habit to make sure that you're practicing to make sure that your habit sticks. Now, take just a minute to show your habit chart to a friend that's next to you. Show how many check marks you have on your chart and take a look to see how many days they've checked off their habits on their chart. If you haven't done your habit for even 1 day this past week, that's okay. Don't give up. But commit this next week is going to be the start of your new healthy habit. Don't make them feel bad if they didn't do their habit. Encourage each other to get started with your healthy habits so that by this time next week, you can say that you've already done your habits 2, 3, 4, 5, or even 7 times. The third habit glue is easy. Our brain does not like to do hard things. We all can do hard things, that's what grit's all about, but we don't like doing hard things. Let's say your healthy habit is to read a story from your children's Bible every morning when you first wake up. When you wake up in the morning, you're all tired. Try to get your eyes open, and then you remember, my children's Bible is in another room of the house. Or, my children's Bible is across the room in my bookshelf. And your brain's gonna say, oh, that's too hard. I can't get up and walk and get my children's Bible. I'm just gonna do it tomorrow. When something's hard, we're less likely to wanna do it. So one thing that you could do to make that easy is to put your children's Bible right next to your pillow. So when you first wake up, it's right there. You don't have an excuse. Your brain can't say, oh, it's too hard, because it's right next to you. If your healthy habit is to ride your bike every single day, the first thing when you get home from school, maybe that's your time signal, then you can make it easier for yourself by putting your bike helmet in your car. Not only is it a visual signal where as soon as you see it in the car, you'll say, I need to go biking when I get home, but also it makes it easy. You don't have to hunt around the house or the garage to find your bike helmet. It's already there in the car, and it makes that transition so much easier for you to do your habit. If your mini habit is to do 1 push-up every single day, you might think, oh, I have to get on the floor, it's so hard, I'm just too lazy, I'm not going to get it done today. Well, you can make it easy by putting something in front of your room door, so when you walk in every day, you trip on it, you fall down on the floor, and you're already ready for your mini habit. Just kidding, don't do that. Terrible idea. I don't want you tripping and falling at home. But you get the idea. Turn to a neighbor and pair share about how you can make your mini habit easier for yourself to make sure that you do it. Finally, the fourth and last habit glue is reward. As Mr. Miguel said, our brains make habits by having a cue or signal, a response or an action, and then a reward. We all love rewards. Sometimes when we think of rewards, we think about prizes, we think about a trophy, we think about snacks or fun things that we can eat that we think will be rewarding. Well, those types of rewards actually aren't the most effective or the best for forming healthy habits. The types of rewards that are best for forming habits are the ones that are automatically built into our habit. For example, when you exercise, your body actually produces neurotransmitters and things in your brain that help you to feel happy. Isn't that amazing? God made our brains in such a way so that when we do the right thing of exercising, we actually feel good. Let's say your habit is to say something nice to someone or to a friend at recess time. When you say that nice thing to a friend, that friend's probably going to smile and say thank you. When you hear that friend saying thank you and smiling, it'll probably make you feel good inside as well. And it might develop a better friendship. So built into that habit is already a reward. That works well for some habits, but some habits don't have built-in rewards into them, or sometimes the reward is not big enough for us to want to do the habit when we don't feel like doing it. So, for example, Mr. Miguel mentioned that when he wakes up in the morning, he likes to look at his phone, to check Instagram, to check his Facebook account, and so before he checks his phone, he does his habit of reading a book. In that way, he ties his habit with a reward, something that he really likes to do and he would already do anyway. His brain feels like, yes, I accomplished my habit, I can get my reward now of looking at my social media accounts. For you, you might have a fun activity, a game you like to play, a hobby you like to do every single day, and when you're starting a new habit, you can just do that habit right before that fun game or activity that you like to do already. In that way, your brain will connect that together and say, yes, I'm successful, I did my mini habit, now I can enjoy the reward that I really like to do. Another type of reward that people use to help themselves to develop new habits is to make the habit fun. For example, if your mini habit was to walk on your treadmill for 30 minutes every single day, well, that's a long time to walk. But some people have a favorite TV show, so they choose that the only time that they ever watch their favorite TV show is when they're walking on the treadmill. So in that way, walking on the treadmill is tied with something that's fun, the activity becomes more fun, and it's a built-in reward for them to walk on the treadmill. Now, pair share and turn to a neighbor and share with that neighbor about how you can make your habit more rewarding or make it more fun. Now, I want to share with you one healthy habit that my wife and I started this year on January 1. It's actually not a mini habit, it's a pretty big habit. It's a challenge of reading the entire Bible in 90 days. That's about 3 months. Now, that's actually a lot of reading every day. It takes about 1 hour of reading every single day to finish the Bible in 90 days. Because we want this habit to stick and we want to be able to complete this challenge, we decided that we needed to use the 4 habit glues. Starting with Signal. We decided that we would do our Bible reading every single night as soon as our kids went to sleep. That's a time signal. Whenever they fall asleep, we know that's the time for us to do our daily Bible reading. Signal, check. Next is practice. We know that we need to do this every single day. So we joined a Facebook group of some of our friends who are also in this challenge together. We can look at it, we can encourage each other, we can see whatever other people are learning from their Bible reading, and that helps us to stay faithful with doing our challenge and practicing it every single day. Practice, check. The third habit glue is easy. We need to make it as easy as possible, and reading the Bible for a whole hour every single day especially at the end of the day when we're already tired, can be rather difficult. So what we decided to do is we found an audio book version of the Bible that's dramatized. It has really great professional voice actors and background music and sound effects, so it's really easy to listen to the Bible. Every night we listen to the Bible instead of reading it by ourselves. In that way, it's made the habit a whole lot easier. Easy, check. And finally, reward. We thought that we needed to find a way to make our new habit more fun. And my wife and I love doing art. We like painting, drawing, doing crafts, so we decided during the hour that we spend every night reading the Bible or listening to it, we were going to do art together. Sometimes we do art just for fun, but a lot of times we try to do a piece of art that relates to what we're learning about or listening to in the Bible. In that way, our new healthy habit has become so much more fun. Reward, check. So there you have it. Those are the 4 habit glues that scientists tell us will help to make our healthy habits stick. Reward, easy, practice, and signal. Reps. Let's pray together. Dear Father in heaven, thank you so much for making our brains in ways that can be transformed and that you can renew our minds to help us to live healthy and happy lives. I pray that you help each student, parent, and staff member to make their new habits stick by using some of the 4 habit glues. May we bring honor to you by the way that we live our life with healthy habits. In your name we pray, amen. Loma Linda Academy community, I hope that these habit glues help you to make your healthy habits stick. And I can't wait to see you next week to see how you're all doing on your healthy habit challenge. See you then.